Anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the floodwaters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it is built on bedrock. But anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey it is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and the floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. There is no place in the whole world that we won't meet God. But how about the heart of a pandemic? That's something that no one has ever suggested to me before. That's something that's never even been on my radar before. In a typical year, one of my favorite times is the fall because I ask my churches to look outside the walls and to send me to a place to look for God that isn't inside the church, to expand our view and get this amazing realization that God is not confined to the walls of the church, that God is everywhere in this world and is longing to meet us throughout our days. And so in times past, churches have sent me all kinds of crazy places. They've sent me to a demolition derby, 6th Street in downtown Austin at night. They sent me to Voodoo Donuts and the town dump. And someday I'd like to come to the walking trail here maybe. And we'd look for God. The idea is to just realize that God is everywhere, longing to meet us at all times and in all places. And so perhaps a little naively, you guys, but with a lot of hope, when I got here in June, I was thinking about the fall, about now, and I was like, we're going to be through the COVID wilderness. We're going to be out on the other side. And I said, church, where should I go in this new town? How should I get to know the town, the community? Where should we go to look for God? And you guys, in similar hopefulness, said, okay, well, Pastor Laura, go to a polka. Go to a taco stand. Let's go to the International Bridge and the bus station. And one of you said, well, let's go to a golf course because everybody's there on Sunday morning instead of church, right? And I was really looking forward to that. But we have now been under shelter at home orders for how long? And though we see signs of hope, that's still where we are. That's still our reality. And so I'm not going to get to invite you to the International Bridge, and certainly not the polka, not this year, not even the walking trail together. We'll get there, my church. We'll look for God in all these places, but not this year. And so I had to go back to the suggestions that I got, and I realized there was one of you that said, maybe in a private message, Pastor Laura, forget the polka and forget the International Bridge. Can you help us find God in the pandemic? And I thought, of course. Of all the places that we need to find God this year, all the unexpected, surprising places, the thing that all of us need the most is to say, where are you, God, in this pandemic? But looking for God in a pandemic presented a little bit of a challenge because normally for this series, what I do is I would grab a few of you and we'd go to that place for that week and we'd all sit there and we'd look and then we'd reflect on it together about like, where is God in this place at Walmart or at the dump or at the demolition derby? Where is God? And I wondered, how do you go sit in the heart of a pandemic? You can't just go sit and look at it. It's everywhere. It's the reality we're living in now. It's when you wake up, it's when you go to bed, it's every decision you make some days, right? It comes into play. And so I just began to pray and to say, God, your people and me, all of us, we need to meet you in a pandemic. Will you show us where you are? Will you meet us and teach us? And I waited, and I prayed, and I waited and I looked. And then, driving home one day, I met God in the pandemic. I live off of 2nd Street here, and I was driving north from the church. Church is a little south from me. I'm driving north, and all of a sudden, up in the road, in the middle of 2nd Street, with all this traffic, I see this little cat. This little cat in the turn lane of the road. And it's hunched up. It's terrified. It was a young cat. It wasn't full grown. And I found myself just whispering a prayer. Please, God, please don't make me watch this cat die. Please don't let this cat die right now. Don't let it die. And as I'm seeing this cat, I was with a lot of traffic, and I slowed down, and all the rest of the traffic sees the cat, and it's slowing down from both directions. And what happens is the cat, it realizes that in amidst all of this moving steel terror, it has a brake. And I can see it coiling to get ready to spring, and I'm just, oh please, oh please, oh please, and it takes off. But you guys, it didn't take off to either side of the street. It took off north in the turn lane. And it made this running leap to a cardboard box. I'm laughing about it now, but it was terrifying. It was jumped over on its side. Cat leaps inside, right? And the box was not in the turn lane. The box was in kind of half in the turn lane and half in oncoming traffic going southbound. And now no one can see the cat. So the cat's inside and it's thinking, this is great. I'm safe. And at the same time, it isn't safe. Its danger has increased. And suddenly I was meeting God in a pandemic. Because in that cat, I saw all of us. I saw us the days when the panic and the fear has us just almost panicked. The unknown, we are living in days where we don't have a map for what this is like, where it feels like traffic is all around us and we don't know how to save ourselves and we don't know how to protect the people we love and we don't know when it'll end or how to get free. And we can seek shelter like cardboard boxes. That's something Jesus talks about, right, in scripture that I read today. He says that we can either build our lives on bedrock, or we can find that we've built them on sand. And we don't find that on the sunny, beautiful days. We find that when the wind blows and the rain is lashing and the floodwaters are rising. It's when the storms of life hit that we discover, have we been sheltering in a cardboard box? Or have we built our lives on the bedrock of God's unchanging love and faithfulness? And I think that one of the beautiful gifts that this pandemic can give to you and to me, to all of us, is it is a storm. And it can help us see where we have chosen flimsy shelters, where we have chosen something other than faith in God, where we have tried to hide in our fear, in our panic, right? At our time of need, where we've tried to hide in something that only gives us the illusion of safety and truly provides nothing real. And so just think about it for a minute. Think about how in this pandemic, if you're like most Americans, you might have eaten a little too much. Part of that is boredom, but part of that is that food seems to offer some kind of comfort, right? It's this temporary that like, I am so stressed out and I am so worried and I am so anxious. I'm this cat standing in the middle of the street. I'm going to eat something. Oh, that solved the... Food never solves the problem. It's a cardboard box. Alcohol can be that way. Drugs. Anything we overuse. We can numb ourselves with TV, with gaming, right? With social media. You can just zone out. Just don't let me see it. Blame can be like that too. Have you found yourself trying to look for like who is it that I blame for this? Who is it that I can say, well, you made the wrong decision, or you mishandled that, or it was their fault? Like, as if we could find who's to blame, then suddenly it would be better. It's a cardboard box. Overworking can be a cardboard box, a place where we decide and we choose a shelter that seems to offer some kind of control. But in reality, we're just in the middle of a street with a Domino's car zooming after us. Jesus says it's when the storms come, it's when the waters rise and the wind is lashing, it's when it's the most terrifying and the most uncertain that we find out where our shelters are, and if they're made of cardboard or bedrock. And so one of the things that you might have realized or be realizing right now is just, where is it your soul is sheltering? And if you find out that you've chosen a cardboard box, if you realize, I realize that I've chosen something that it's a fake, it seems to provide shelter, but it's untrue, it's not real, and it's not really protecting me, which is anything except for God, then we don't beat ourselves up. We just get rid of it. And we realize that at any moment, just like that, we can make a change and let God be the foundation of our lives. Let God be our security and our certainty in a world that is constantly changing around us. And wouldn't it be beautiful if the benefit of this pandemic is it shows us our cardboard boxes and we get rid of them forever. And from here on out, we are trusting fully on God and nothing else. Not the food, not the work, not the money, not the job, not anything, not ourselves, but God. So that day on 2nd Street, 6th Street is in Austin, on 2nd Street with the cat when it dove for the box, I turned off right here. And there was a break in the traffic and I ran out and I picked up the box because I didn't want the cat to make another jump for it, and I brought it right over here. And the cat had a tag. And it was an address just a few blocks away. I thought, man, this cat chose a cardboard box when there was a brick house with people who loved it a block away. So I took the cat there, and they were relieved. Every day, every hour, in every way you can, choose to build your life on God's love, on God's forgiveness, on the foundation that you are a child of the King of Kings and the Savior of the world, right? You are beloved by God. And when we recenter our lives, we leave the cardboard shields and the cardboard boxes, and we truly make our home with God, our lives will be changed forever. And we will be so glad that we met God in the heart of this pandemic.